Fallen leaves are one of the biggest signs of fall and winter quickly approaching. And this means that not only do we have a lot of raking to do, but we also have a lot of prep in our garden to do in order to make sure that our garden is prepped for winter, and especially prepped for us in the spring so that we can come into a nice garden that has great quality soil, doesn't have too many weeds, and is going to be free from diseases that could have happened in the previous year. So we're gonna head into the garden and I'm gonna talk about how you can winterize your garden or put your garden to bed for the winter in order to make sure that you have the best spring and gardening for next year. So let's head into the garden. We're here in the garden, and the first step for winterizing your garden is starting to remove any of the old or depleted plants. And you have two things that you can really be doing with them. So option one is once you remove them, which I don't like to actually pull out the whole plant, I will just come in and trim the plant at the top, leaving the roots in there because the roots are actually really great for the soil. If the plant looks in good health, there's no diseases, they were not hit by any bugs, then I would say you can go ahead and take this plant and just compost it. Usually we'll just throw it into the compost area within our chicken coop, and this also makes our chickens really happy because they can eat at anything that's left over as long as it's a safe plant for them. If you do have anything that shows signs of disease, or if you have any squash-like plants, think cucumbers, squash, zucchinis, I suggest actually removing and throwing those away. This is because a lot of times they will actually cause to have cucumber beetles or different types of bugs that are drawn to squash plants, and this will just mean that in future years you're going to be hit with them pretty hard. So instead of composting them, just throw them away, throw them deep into the woods, and just get rid of them. The goal here is generally to just clean up your bed. We're also gonna take away any top layer of mulch if you do have it, especially if you have wood chip mulch. You definitely wanna remove that. We'll put it to the side, and we're gonna do some amending of the soil because this year, growing plants is definitely going to be depleting the nutrients from your soil. So we want to make sure that we're going to top dress it with some nice compost that will then feed back some nutrients into your soil. You can get a good compost at any of your local box stores, a town composting area. If you make your own compost, this is great, or any droppings from any animals that have good compostable soil. Now, if you are going to be using compost that your chickens have been using, you want to make sure that it's had some time to sit out, because we all know that chicken compost isn't the best for something that you're going to be eating with. So usually you do want to have it sit out for a couple of months before adding it to your garden. So let's go ahead and top dress our bed with some soil. Here you'll see I have a nice bucket of just some compost. It doesn't have to be anything wild or crazy. It doesn't have to be an exuberant amount of compost. It's really just a light layer to help bring some nutrients back to your soil. So the more you add, definitely the better, but it's all dependent on how much room is in your box, as well as we are working with raised garden beds here. So you don't always have the luxury of being able to go overboard. And in the spring, we do usually add some additional compost, so I don't go too heavy here. But what's really great is throughout the winter, we have rain or snow come down, this will have the nutrients of the soil passed down throughout the rest of our bed as well. So I'll just go ahead, sprinkle some of this on top. Once you've gone ahead and added your top dressing of soil, then we're going to go ahead and mulch on top of the beds. And there are a few different ways that we can do this, and some plants like it a little bit differently than others. So first, let's talk about some of our perennials that are in the garden. And that is going to include our strawberry beds. So strawberries are going to be around year after year. They usually are going to cap out at around 2 or 3 years, but you can continue to have them because they're going to have lots of runners And honestly, you're probably never gonna need to buy strawberries ever again, as long as you keep them warm throughout the winter. And it's definitely dependent on which zone you're in. We're in a 7B, so it can get pretty cold here, but it's not too bad. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cover our strawberry beds with straw. Straw is a nice way to insulate your strawberries without covering them too much, and it still is going to allow for water to seep through while also protecting the soil and locking in a lot of the nutrients. So once you've gone in and done some addition of compost to help bring some nutrients back to the soil, we're going to go ahead and put some straw on top. I've also gone in here and cleaned out some of the runners, so I have some main plants that I can start working with instead of an abundant amount of strawberries. It's really great because you can give them to friends or sell them and keep spreading your strawberry love. So I just have some nice straw here, and we're just going to top dress it on top of the bed, especially around any of your strawberries. What's really important here is making sure that the roots of the strawberries or any of your perennials that you are adding the straw onto are the warmest. It's not necessarily as important that the leaves are protected. Most of the time you can actually chop these down, but you want to make sure that the roots or the base and the heart of your plant is warm throughout the colder months. Plus, I think the straw kind of looks nice in the beds, so I don't mind it. Now, if you have perennials like fruit trees, then what we are going to want to do is prune at this time. So once all of the leaves have actually fallen off of your trees, which is not yet, so I'm not going to show that to you yet, but will be doing a pruning video coming out shortly, so definitely stay tuned for that. You might want to prune any of your fruit trees, especially any that grow on new branches, like certain types of figs or different types of berries that you might have. So any berries, fruit trees, you're going to want to prune back, shape up, get them ready for the next season. Some you might want to cover. So we have some fig trees here that are not super hardy, so we will also talk about how we cover those. Again, it's a little too early for that here in the garden, but you can go ahead and cover those. And what's really important, again, is protecting that root ball area. So during this time, you will also want to get some mulch. We do a lot of wood chips here, and it's just creating a nice thick layer at the base of your trees so that they are really warm and protected from the colder months. Once you've gone ahead and put all of your mulching down, especially if you're using straw here, I suggest just spraying with some water. This way, everything will actually stay down and not blow away. If you do not have straw available, there are actually a lot of other options that you can use in your garden, and a lot of them are free. First off, you can be using good old cardboard boxes. These are great. You can go ahead, just rip up any of your cardboard, and this is going to prove as an amazing way to protect the nutrients in your soil, as well as weed proof the area. So you can just open them up and lay them onto your bed. Especially if you're a big Amazon purchaser, this is a great way to upcycle some of those and easily cover a large amount of space. We love using this for areas that we use wood chips in our garden, especially in the back fruit orchard area. We use a lot of old cardboard boxes, you can see here. I definitely suggest using any that are going to be brown and removing any of the tape or stickers from them before laying them down. Over here is another great option to use. This is an old rug. So once you've gone ahead and done all of the following steps, previous steps that we talked about, all you could do is just throw on an old rug. This is another really great, easy way to upcycle some materials that you may have thrown out. You can go into Facebook Marketplace or just Facebook in general, ask around if people have any old rugs, and it's definitely the easiest way to cover. And then at the end of the season, you just roll up and you're ready for spring. This is a really great way to protect from weeds, lock in the nutrients, while also letting in some of the water into your garden bed. And the third way that you can be mulching your garden is through leaves, which is why we were raking all of our leaves. This is probably the easiest, cheapest, and most organic way that you can be mulching around your garden. And it also looks really fun and is really easy to remove come the spring. So we'll go ahead and add some leaves to one of our garden beds. And again, I definitely suggest taking your hose, going over the garden, following so that all of the leaves do stick as well. What's really nice about this method, not only is it a nice organic way to be keeping your garden bed safe over the winter, warm over the winter, and locking extra nutrients, but it's also going to create homes for little tiny critters that will be very happy that you gave them a nice leaf house for the winter. Final step that I like to do with winterizing my garden is actually starting the garden for next year, and that includes growing my own garlic. We did this last year and it was really amazing. I suggest getting organic garlic from a grocery store or purchasing garlic seeds. They're going to be a lot more fruitful than if you just take any old garlic, because some of them can have agents to prevent growth in them if you do not get one that is organic. Best of luck with winterizing your garden. I'll include some helpful videos down below, and we'll see you guys again next time. Have a good one.